In today's video, I'm going to show you a really quick and easy tip for adding depth to your flowers after they've already dried. So to get started, I'm just going to take some plain water and kind of squirt down my paints. I do this so that they can start to soften up and I don't have to work as hard to pick up as much paint. So ahead of time, I already painted these roses, and I'm going to show you really quick two different ways to add some depth. The first way is you'll paint your flower, this one happens to be a rose, and let it dry completely. Let me show you actually really quick what I see happening a lot. You'll go to paint your rose, and you want to add some depth to it. And so you'll go ahead and dab in some color. Now, that's perfectly fine to do, but a lot of times you don't have a lot of control, and this will kind of bleed out and it'll form these little watercolor blooms that aren't the prettiest. So this is a solution to help with that. Now, rather than tap in the color, I just painted the rose and then I waited for it to dry completely. And now with that color, I can go right back over the top and add in that depth. And because I'm not using quite as much paint just in the center here, then that's when it's a great time to tap in just a little bit of color. Because I know it's not going to bleed into my entire rose. It's only going to bleed where I've just placed that color. So that's one way to add depth. Another way, you still want to wait for your paint to dry. But this time I'm going to start with a darker color. Let's see. I'm mixing alizarin crimson and a little bit of Payne's gray to get this deep purple. I'm going a little dark just so you can see everything in process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap in my color. Right in the center here. And then I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm making sure a lot of that water is gone just by scraping out my brush. And then I'm going to just pull that color outward just by barely tapping into that color. And then just with the clear water, I'm going over the top of where I went before. Now this is just going to allow the color that I just placed to bleed outward and kind of help blend into the flower that I already painted. So two super easy approaches. Now I'm going to show you the same kind of thing but with my leaves. I'm not sure what color this is. This is just whatever I had left over on my palette. Probably a mixture of undersea green and sap green. Okay, so the same kind of thing happens with leaves. You go to paint a leaf, and then you want to add depth. Now, I will add depth in while the paint is still wet. That's perfectly fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you tap in the color and you're wanting definition and you just get a puddle. You want to wait for your paint to dry completely. Now this one, I'm just going to paint right over the top. And just doing that has darkened the color. Now just off to the side, I'll show you. It's quite a bit darker, the second layer, than just painting it by itself. Now if I wanted detail lines on this leaf, I would wait for that to dry completely. I'll show you what I mean with this one that I've already painted. Now I can go over the top and add in some veins. Because that first layer is already dry. Okay, I hope that helped answer some of your questions about adding depth and dimension to flowers. If you have any more questions or have a suggestion for a future video, please leave that down in the comments below, and I'll see you next week in my next video. Bye!